Good morning, pilgrim friends. Can you believe that Easter was 2 whole weeks away? Have you eaten all your candy treats yet? I have. Maybe your Easter decorations have been started to be put away. Um, I've put the baskets away, but I've left out more spring type decorations till the end of April, which is next Thursday, folks. May starts next week. We're about to enter May. Time is flying. So even though Easter has passed, we're still talking about it because there are so many important stories to cover that help us understand what Jesus did after he was resurrected. Remember, Jesus stayed on earth for 40 days after he rose from the dead. So last week we talked about the first people who came upon the empty tomb and how sad they were and surprised. They were still figuring out that Jesus had really risen from the dead, even though he told them that that was what was going to happen. It was such an incredible idea that they just couldn't wrap their heads around it. And we talked about last week that there was a folded cloth left in his tomb, and it was reminiscent of maybe a napkin. It reminded us of the message that maybe a folded napkin would leave for us, and that is that I'm not done yet. I'm coming back. And Jesus is definitely telling us that. So this week we will continue at the tomb on the first Easter morning. And Peter and the other disciple that had come with him had gone away after finding the empty tomb. But Mary Magdalene stayed, and she was crying. We pick up the story there in John chapter 20, verses 11 through 18. So Mary was standing outside the tomb crying, and as she wept, she stooped and looked in. She saw 2 white-robed angels, one sitting at the head and the other at the foot of the place where the body of Jesus had been lying. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" the angels asked her. "Because they have taken away my Lord," she replied, "and I don't know where they have put him." She turned to leave and saw someone standing there. It was Jesus, but she didn't recognize him. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" Jesus asked her. "Who are you looking for?" She thought he was the gardener. "Sir," she said, "if you have taken him away, tell me where you have put him, and I'll go and get him." "Mary," Jesus said. She turned to him and cried out, "Rabboni," which is Hebrew for teacher. "Don't cling to me," Jesus said, "for I haven't yet ascended to the Father. But go find my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, my God and your God." Mary Magdalene found the disciples and told them, "I have seen the Lord." Then she gave them his message. So let's break that down. Mary is crying, still not sinking in that Jesus has actually risen from the dead. Do you remember why Mary was at the tomb? So back when Jesus had died on the cross, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, 2 followers of Jesus, had taken Jesus down from the cross and buried him in Joseph's tomb. It had been carved out for Joseph. He was a rich man. And they did it very quickly because the Sabbath was coming. If Jesus died at 3, when the sun was going down that day, would have been the Sabbath. So they had from 3 in the afternoon till whenever the sun went down. So they had to be fast about it. So they got permission to take his body and took him down and treated him and put him in Joseph's tomb. So Mary was coming to properly care for the body, anoint his body with special scents and oils now that the Sabbath was over. And she comes up, and the stone was rolled away, and the tomb was empty. So she thought that someone had stolen him. Someone had taken her friend's body. She wanted so much to give him the proper, respectful treatment of this dear friend and teacher. And she she was crying. She was very upset by that. And she didn't even flinch when there's two angels sitting in the tomb talking to her. But, maybe she was crying so much that she didn't really see, who was there. Very distraught. And then Jesus himself asks, "Why are you crying?" And Mary doesn't recognize him. She thinks he is a gardener because the tomb was in a garden. And then Jesus says her name, Mary. Have you ever been out and about and without seeing, heard a friend say your name, and you know just who that friend is because you recognize the voice? You don't have to see who they are, but you hear them call your name and you know who it is. 'Cause that clicks, right? And that's what happened here. Jesus said Mary, and Mary recognized his voice, and it all sunk in that here was her friend, her teacher, and her Lord Jesus standing right in front of her, alive. And then Jesus says, "Don't hang on me, go find the disciples and tell them." And she does, and she tells them all that she's seen. Wow. So in my searching around for pictures for us to color today, I actually came across, we're not going to color this, I came across this famous, cool, old painting. It looks almost like a photograph because it's so detailed in its colors, right? And this picture is called Christ and Mary Magdalene at the Tomb, and it was painted in 1638 by Rembrandt. Now, Rembrandt was a very famous Dutch artist. He was a painter who lived 400 years ago, from 1606 to 1669. That's how long he lived. And funny enough, Pastor Rich actually used a different Rembrandt painting this week on Facebook to tease about his message at worship today. So tune in at 10:30 or catch it afterwards on our Facebook page or on pilgrimtoday.com, because he used a different Rembrandt painting to point to what his message is going to be about today. I think Rembrandt must have liked painting about Jesus's life. But what I find uber cool about this painting is that Rembrandt actually painted Jesus as a gardener. Do you see he's got a hat on and he's got a shovel, a little spade in his hand? Now, Jesus didn't appear to her as a gardener, but she mistook him for the gardener because they were in a garden. And then that made me remember Pastor Rich's message on Easter Sunday. And I'll post a link to it below in the comments. And you can fast forward to 19 minutes, 25 seconds into his message if you want to rewatch it or watch it for the first time. But the idea is that maybe Mary didn't make a mistake, and that when she thought that Jesus was the gardener, it was Jesus. It was her friend, and she didn't recognize him at first. And so she just assumed, who would be here? A gardener would be here. But maybe she was right. Maybe Jesus was and is a gardener after all. And if we are his garden, doesn't he take care of us? Plants us and helps us to grow and bloom, and he weeds the bad things out of our heads and our hearts. And if our world is the garden, isn't Jesus working that garden too? And hasn't Jesus given us the tools by living in us to do wonderful, nurturing, growing things in our families, in our communities, and on the earth through him. I love that idea. And Pastor Rich was talking about it on Easter Sunday. And he said, we are, and this is a quote, all invited through the Holy Spirit to help in the restorative gardening of human lives and of all creation. And we do so every time we demonstrate Jesus's courage, faith, hope, love, peace, victory, and selfless sacrifices for the common good of all. That's a lot of words, but it's a beautiful statement. And Pastor Rich went on to share the words to a song in the sermon on Easter Sunday. The song is called Garden, and it was sung by Maher. And it was beautiful, and it sounded like a poem. So I put a link to that song in the comments below. You might really enjoy that too. It's a slower song. It's not upbeat, but it's really beautiful. Also in the comments below, I'm going to put links to our coloring pages for the day because I know my friends love to do their coloring. So here's one. This is Jesus about to appear to Mary Magdalene outside the tomb, and that's from supercoloring page, supercoloring.com, and the link will be below. And then there is also just a summer garden picture for you to color, also from supercoloring.com, because I know we love to get creative and use lots of pretty colors, and that will be fun for you, and hopefully it'll help you think of yourself as a gardener. Now for a fun little activity today, I'm sticking with the gardening theme. Okay, so we just ended the week that had both Earth Day on the 21st and Arbor Day on the 24th. So it's spring. It's time to start planting things. And I'm sure some of you have already started. I'm a little behind. I always was told that don't plant anything outside until Mother's Day. Because the weather can be sneaky and freeze again, and then our new plantings, they wouldn't survive. They wouldn't survive the cold. So we can start our seeds inside, right? And nurture them because we're gardeners. And then when it's warm enough and safe from freezing, we can put them outside. So I've got a lot of things here that can go with the Earth Day ideas. And I'm going to reuse a cardboard egg carton. We can use this to help some seeds grow. And I have, the coveted empty toilet tissue roll. So we've gone through some of our stash. We didn't hoard. We have what we need, but we've gone through some toilet paper, and so I have some nice cardboard rolls here that we can use to make little planters out of. And then I have some plastic containers that held some fruit, and we can use these as little greenhouses. And then when the time is right, we can plant them outside in our garden, and we're not even going to take the seeds out, the dirt out of the little planter that we're making, because this will break down. So we can just plant the whole thing. So first, let me show you how you can use this to make your little planter. So about halfway through, and maybe mom and dad will have to help you with this, or some adult in your house. I poke a little hole about halfway, and I'm going to cut all the way around so that I have two halves. Now, could you do it without cutting around? Yeah, you could, but then it might be too tall. You'd have to trim some off anyway. This was easier to cut when I did my sample. Okay, so now I have two halves. And then about halfway up, well, not halfway up, but at one point, you're going to give a little slit here, and then exactly opposite of that on the other side, you're going to give a slit. And then a quarter of the way around, a slit, and right across from that, a slit. All right, so then I have 4 little flaps here on the bottom. So you can fold them down, make a little bottom, Now that's not going to stay like that. I just did 2 flaps down and then 2 flaps on top. So you've got to do that staggering thing. Like maybe when you put your decorations for different holidays away, they go in a cardboard box. Probably better to put it in a plastic bin, but hey, reuse. So cardboard box, and the flaps on the box, you overlap them in a way that the box stays closed. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put 1 flap down, 1 flap on top, and then the 3rd flap on top of that. So this one goes under, this one goes over. So then this one is what I have to figure out how to get in here. So it needs to stay on top of this one, but under that one, right? So that's where it gets a little tricky. We're gonna shove that in there and then get them all down at once. All right. See how it's crisscrossing? It's not the prettiest thing. And if it's not staying, I would say you could use a little piece of tape to hold it there until when you're ready to plant, I would take the tape off. So from this situation, we're gonna scoop. I have a bowl, it's got some dirt in it. You can take a little spoon and put your dirt into your little planter. Little dirt into your little planter. Boop, boop, boop. You don't want it too high. And let's not pour dirt all over my computer. And I've got some green bean seeds here. So I'm going to take a seed. Here's a seed. Now it says how low to plant this. So I'm going to put it kind of deep into my pot here. Boop. Doot, 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 doot. And I can even sprinkle a little bit more soil on top. And then you want to give it a little spritz. Yep, sound effects, folks. Okay, so then I've got my nice little fresh soil seed inside. It's moist, it's got the water, and I'm going to put it in my little makeshift little greenhouse like that. And so I can come leave this in a window and come by and spritz it with some water throughout the week as needed. You don't want it to be too wet. And then you can put it outside when it's ready, like I said. Another thing you can use is a cardboard egg carton. So I'm going to do like a 6-pack here of eggs, of the egg carton. So basically I'm cutting it in half. Now you could cut them into individuals. Actually, you probably do want to do that because that way you can space them out when you plant them outside. I was thinking, oh, I'll keep them as a 6-pack and put them in my little. I figured, oh, those would fit into my little greenhouse. But you know what? When I plant them, I'll want to spread them out, so it's better to make them individual. So let's go ahead and do that. We're thinking. So I'll just get one here so that you can see it, but you can go ahead and cut up all 12 of a cardboard egg carton and do this in all 12. And so again, you can put the dirt in, get it started here. And I also have lettuce seeds. Oh, these are tiny. Ooh, tiny seeds. So these you might want to sprinkle a couple in there. Give it a spritz. Oh, nice. Okay. So you would go do that with all of your little individual seed starting contraptions, whether it's the paper towel or toilet paper rolls that you've folded a bottom out of, or the cardboard egg carton sections, or maybe you have something else. But if you're going to take those and put them right in the ground, you want it to be something paper-based, cardboard-based, so that it breaks down. Ooh, my soil. And you'll put those out once your weather gets warmer and safer for the plants to survive. So happy planting. All right, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful week. And I want you to go into this week remembering that you have a green-thumbed gardener. So green thumb means you're good at making things grow. So you have a green-thumbed gardener looking after you that you can trust and grow in his light. And you can be the gardener too. You can be the gardener to the world around you, to your family, and you can do all those things because of his love and sacrifice. Have a wonderful week, pilgrims. Bye.